Good morning, everybody. Orange J here with another Sword of CONVALLARIA video, and today we're going to talk a little bit about the gacha system in Sword of CONVALLARIA. If you are a global player excited to play this game on July 31st, and you're maybe a Final Fantasy Tactics fan or a Tactics Ogre fan, and you're hoping to get in on some of that like old school tactical RPG action, but are a little hesitant about the gacha system in the game, well, there's a really good Reddit post going on right now, and I've been playing through the demo a little bit for the last couple of days. I've got to experience the polls. I've had some people hanging out with me in chat here tonight that have talked about their experience on like the Taiwanese version of this game. So let's talk about the poll system. First of all, I gotta say, the polls have a really cool mechanic to them. So I'm in the summon screen right now. I'm going to do a poll. And when you do a poll, you get this screen. Now, I've pulled something I don't have because I just got an achievement, but you can pick which like tarot card you pull on. I don't think this affects anything about the polls at all, but like it's fun. I did the devil. No, I did death last time. This time, let's do the world. Yes, we'll do a waifu poll. Now, let's see what we get. We got K.A. Pikeman. This is one of the like generic characters in the game. And this is a good segue into what we're going to talk about with the poll system, because in this game, there are two different like main PvE game modes, or this is what I've gathered anyway. If you're playing the demo that you can actually go download on Steam right now, you're going to be playing in the Fool's Journey, which is like this story mode version of the game. In that version of the game, you can use like named characters, the SSRs, the 5 stars, the URs, whatever they decide to call it on global launch. You know, your characters like Mataya here. In fact, you'll get her for free. She's not at the top of the tier list, but you do get her for free. And you get a couple others handed to you as well. Or you can make a team out of like Knighted Pikemen or K.A. Pikemen that I just pulled. You can use these generic type of characters as well. And from what everyone has been saying, from what I've read, heard, watched on videos, you can play through this whole story part of the game using these characters and have no problem. You'll have to use some strategy if you're not just spamming the higher ranked characters, but if you came here expecting to play tactical RPG, I don't think a little bit of strategy is going to be a problem. Now, I want to expand on that by looking at a Reddit post that I was reading through today while I was at work taking a little bit of a break. Now, this is from somebody called Ghostly Matters. I'll link this Reddit post in the comment section if you want to go read it or say anything yourself or whatever. This is somebody who's a Chinese player that had terrible luck in the game, played it for 8 months, didn't pull well, isn't happy with the direction of the game, and basically just made a really long Reddit post saying the game is dead on arrival, right? Now, I personally don't like posts like this. There's a lot of people very excited to come play this game, and like, why come throw a wet blanket on a bunch of people for a game that you got? But again, this person played this game for 8 months. For 8 months. Imagine playing a single player game for 8 months and then being like, yeah, it's terrible, you guys shouldn't play, it's dead on arrival at global. Like, I just don't like that mentality much. However, they did make some points in here. They talk about how much a poll cost, what the pity was like, and then they went on to talk about how like PvP is going to be like big whale territory. And I had a lot of thoughts about this. As I was reading through it, there's like some red flags in there. But as you read through the post a little bit more, there are other players who played on the Taiwanese version of the game who said actually like OP just feels like they got burnt by the game a little bit and they disagree with their points. So I want to go through this a little bit, just give you my thoughts on what this is. And if you care about that, watch this video, hit like and subscribe, all those things I always forget to do. So anyway, this person just says they want to share with us their experience in the game. Notice how I made that, 5 words instead of a paragraph. They understand that a lot of you might have the impression that the gacha mode does not necessarily impact the story mode. This is both true and not true. The game does offer you free-to-play story mode. That's what I just showed you in the client right there, with numerous characters to recruit. However, in each of the playthrough, you can only recruit 2 special characters, which we call SSR characters. That is not true. Like that, and this could be a language barrier thing, but that's one of the reasons why, like, I didn't really like that post. If we go look at the summon screen right here, this is just the standard banner. The standard banner. Keep in mind, everything that I'm looking at right here is on the demo version of the game. Things might change, but on the standard banner right now, it literally shows 4 SSR characters and you have a 2% chance of pulling an SSR character. Those rates are not great. Like, it's a gacha game and that sucks, but if you can clear the game with your epics and your rares, there's a person talks later in the post about how they're literally playing the game with common and rare characters for like hard mode playthrough. That's a fun way of playing a strategy game. And the idea that you only get like 2 SSRs, that's probably just a language barrier, but here's what the standard banner looks like, at least on the demo version of the game. Also, I want to mention that on the demo version of the game, if you go to the shop, a pull is only 150 of the premium currency, not 160 like it was on the Taiwanese version. That could change to launch. They could put it back up to 160, but that's just something to keep in mind. Okay, so let's continue. Anyway, they said every pull was about $2. It was 180 pulls to pity, and they just talk about how like kind of awful that experience was. Now, I will agree with that, and I want to say something here. When we're talking about pity systems, gacha games, pulling characters, this is a tactical RPG. And when I started playing War of the Visions, which is like the other tactical RPG gacha game that I cover on this channel, one of the first content creators I ever watched was a guy named Cabbage. And Cabbage had big opinions on a lot of things. And sometimes I agreed with them, sometimes I didn't agree with them. But one of the things he always said that I thought was like profound and actually changed the way that I've thought about a lot of gacha games in the future, especially ones where I'm not whaling in, which I feel like is the majority of the player base. I feel like the majority of the player base walks into a game as a free-to-play player or a low spender, and maybe at some point along the way throws a few bucks here, throws a few bucks there, something like that. Anyway, what he said was, you need to think about gacha games like this. You're going to go to a banner and maybe there's a featured character on that banner and you really want it. And you're going to hit pull with whatever currency you've saved or whatever currency you just bought a little bit or whatever. And the game is going to give you something. It's not going to give you nothing. You are walking away with something, maybe something new. Maybe you lose a 50-50 in a Genshin Impact, or maybe you off banner the featured bannered character in this game. You have that now. That's what your account is. If you can accept that and go play the game with that, you will just have a lot more fun than if you are stressing about the fact that you didn't get the current featured character. Now, if you're playing, so that was his advice, and I think that's really good advice. I will say, if you care about being the top of PvP leaderboards, well, you better expect your wallet to be wide open, and you probably then are stressing about the new characters, the meta, stuff like that. But for most of us who just want to come enjoy a tactical RPG, I think that like Cabbage mentality is a good one to have, and that's the mentality I'm going to be bringing into this game as well. My account will just be different than other people's accounts, and that's fine. Pulling is fun, and that RNG factor is something that a lot of gacha players like, even if it does. I mean, look, the direction gaming monetization is going in might not be the greatest, but whatever. Okay, they also talk in here about how the game is like, the game's over, like it's a year old or something on the Chinese version, 8 months to a year, something like that. And they're like releasing new characters that are more powerful than old ones. They talk about power creep a little bit. Please understand that power creep is something that must happen in gacha games. You must have power creep because whales make the game money. Whales care about being the top of leaderboards. And so to get whales to spend to chase their leaderboards, you must release stronger things. That's just part of gacha gaming. And you don't need that to beat the story in this game. From everything I've heard, from everything I've read, you can go enjoy this game with the SR characters if you really want to. Your pikemans, your generic assassin, your generic mage. And that's probably a really fun way to play. There's a lot of people who play like Honkai Star Rail with just 4 stars. I did it all the way to Pinaconi, and it was a really fun way of playing the game. Then I pulled Acheron, and you can insta kill the mobs, and I digress. That ended my that ended that experience for me. But anyway, so he also talks about how there's a new gacha weapon system in the game, and he doesn't like that. My advice to people who don't like gacha weapon systems is don't pull on them. I've never touched the one in Honkai Star Rail for like the light cones. I've never touched the one in Zenless Zone Zero, and I don't play Genshin Impact. So you just not pull on them. That's fine. And I want to include then he talks about the devs on the Chinese version just being very authoritarian and like banning people who are trashing the game. Says the game's dead on release. So if all that seemed negative, I would then counter it with some other posts in here. First of all, like Hunter comes out here and just starts saying like, man, if you only had 8 legendary units, you're literally like bottom of the luck barrel. And he talks about how it's like a free-to-play player or somebody who bought like the monthly pass and a seasonal pass. They had what, 15? So double what that person had. And then there's a really good follow-up post by Kika Dofer here. It says, as a day one player on the Taiwanese server who stopped playing 2 to 3 months ago to get hyped for the global release. So this is a great counterpoint because OP was somebody who quit playing the Taiwanese or the Chinese version of the game, Taiwanese version of the game, whatever game they were playing, and came here to talk about how it was dead. This person's like, I quit playing to get rehyped for the launch of the game globally. So gacha system isn't reliable. They give a point where they like agree. They say the gacha system isn't reliable because it's not a guaranteed pity. That does suck. Like, I'll agree. Not having guaranteed pity feels old to me. I'm very used to playing games at this point where there is some guaranteed way that if I have enough currency saved or something like that, that I can get the thing. So I will count that against the game. I do think that does suck. And they compare it to the Arc Knights pity system. Not an Arc Knights player, so I don't know what that's like. They say it's hard to snipe a specific unit, even on its banner, unless you're prepared to spend a ton of resources. That's where that cabbage mentality comes in. And then he says, I didn't try the new weapon banner, so I don't know how broken those are. And if they are broken, that sucks. Yep. Just don't pull on it like this guy did. Now, that being said, I think people need to get a better grasp on the type of gacha game that Sword of Convallaria is. It's almost exclusively PvE type of game that has dailies that can be cleared in a few minutes. Huge. Huge. Dailies only taking a few minutes is huge. And it's best played as a side game except for the story roguelike mode or when new content is released. What's the big deal about waiting a few months to fully develop the potential of a unit? By the way, you don't have to like pull dupes or like there's a mode in this game where units that have been out for a while, you can like dupe them out over time for free. I don't know what that looks like yet. It takes several months, but it's something. Akin to like maybe a guild barrack system in War of the Visions, where you can just pull a unit, and even if you don't have the resources to level it now, you can slowly level it over time. That's great. So at least it's not a dupe gated system, and he really enjoys that. The power creep is an issue that needs to be tuned down a bit for OP's post. I already talked about power creep a lot. The power creep pay to win weapons are a non-issue for PvP except for whales. And that's how PvP works in gacha games. Is it good that that's how PvP works in gacha games? No. No, it's not. But if you're coming here, I feel like most people in global, or at least people who are watching my channel, are coming here because they remember Final Fantasy Tactics. They remember Tactics Ogre. They remember those 90s, 2000s tactical RPGs, and they want to come in here and experience that. Maybe for a month, maybe for a week, maybe for a year. I don't know. You don't need to do the PvP, or at least just farm other non-paying players in PvP, take the rewards and let the whales have their whale wars. And sometimes that's what you got to do. He also says that SSR units are not a cheat code to clear the harder contents like Tower, even the latest ones. It'll help you, but you may only fail this content with a full SSR team with their weapons. At some point, and this is big, the strategy part of this game really becomes essential because the enemies just have way too many stats and just beat you if you make a mistake. Boom. So SSR characters helpful, but not necessarily the key to clearing a lot of the game. I think that's huge. And the gacha has its flaws, like all gacha games, but I think his OP just had the worst luck. So I think that was a really interesting kind of back and forth between two players who played in the Asian version of this game. And like I said, as I've been playing, I have had a lot of people in chat today just kind of talking about their experience with the game. A lot of people excited to play this game, and that's where I am. I'm excited to play. I'm gonna walk into it. My spending, I'll talk about that. My spending idea as I walk into this game is going to be, if there's like a battle pass thing, you know, that like $10 login reward every day thing, I'll buy that. I'm not even planning on re-rolling. I like using generic pikemen. Like when I would play games like Tactics Ogre or something like that back in the day, I really loved using those like generic characters. It made me feel more like my main character was special and I just had like a squad of bros with me, as opposed to like, remember when you would get like Beowulf and stuff like that in Final Fantasy Tactics, and all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I mean, like, he just kills everybody. Why am I even here? Like, I don't necessarily like that about games. I kind of like using those generic characters, and at least for the story mode of this game, I plan on doing that. Maybe I'll even play a like only generic character, you know, hard mode run just for content, if nothing else. So that's my thoughts. Anyway, I just want to give you a little taste of what the gacha in Sword of Convallaria was like. There you go. Thoughts, feelings, concerns, anything like that, please leave it in the comment section, and I hope y'all have a great day. I'll catch you next time. Peace.